The unthinkable has just happened, and the halls of Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond are likely echoing with the sound of pure panic right now. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the entire global tech industry, 12 American states have officially signed a joint mandate that requires all government offices, public institutions, and state-funded agencies to migrate entirely away from Windows and adopt Linux-based operating systems. This isn't a small-scale pilot program or a suggestion for future consideration. We are talking about a massive, legally binding shift that affects everything from the computers at your local DMV to the secure servers handling state tax records and judicial databases. For decades, Microsoft has held a near-total monopoly on government infrastructure, a golden goose that provided billions in licensing fees and a guaranteed user base. Today, that golden goose didn't just fly away. It was evicted by state law. Critics are calling it the Great Microsoft Exodus, and the reasons cited by the state governors range from massive cybersecurity concerns and the aggressive, intrusive nature of Windows 11 telemetry to the simple fact that the taxpayer can no longer justify the skyrocketing costs of proprietary software when superior open-source alternatives are ready for prime time. This is the biggest defiance of big tech dominance in American history, and today we are breaking down exactly which states are involved, why Microsoft is absolutely exploding over this decision, and what this means for the future of your own PC. If you thought the fight between Windows and Linux was just for bearded coders in basements, think again, because the government just picked a side, and it isn't the one with the blue logo. To understand why this is such a seismic event, you have to look at the sheer scale of government reliance on Microsoft. For over 30 years, the relationship between the US government and Microsoft has been more of a marriage than a contract. Every official document, every spreadsheet, and every internal communication has been funneled through the Microsoft ecosystem. But that marriage has been on the rocks for a long time. The breaking point for these 12 states appears to be the recent direction Windows has taken under the leadership of Satya Nadella, specifically the introduction of features like Recall, which snapshots a user's screen every few seconds using AI, and the constant, forced integration of cloud services that many state legal teams have deemed a nightmare for data sovereignty and citizen privacy. One state attorney general went on record saying that they can no longer guarantee the privacy of their citizens' sensitive legal data if that data is being processed through AI models owned by a private corporation. By moving to Linux, these states are regaining total control over their data, their security, and their future. The states involved in this coalition come from both sides of the political aisle, proving that the frustration with Microsoft's recent behavior is a rare point of bipartisan agreement. Industry insiders are reporting that the transition will begin with specialized distributions of Linux, likely tailored for security and ease of use, such as custom versions of Fedora or Ubuntu designed specifically for government workflows. The financial implications alone are staggering. It is estimated that collectively, these 12 states will save over $400 million in the next 5 years, just by eliminating per-seat licensing fees for Windows and the Microsoft 365 suite. Microsoft's stock is already feeling the pressure as investors realize that the government sector, once considered an unassailable fortress for the company, is starting to crumble. But why Linux? And why now? For years, the argument against Linux in the office was that it was too difficult to use and lacked the necessary software compatibility. But that argument has effectively been dismantled by the rise of web-based applications and the incredible progress of the Linux desktop environment. Most government employees spend their days in a web browser, a word processor, or a database client. All of those tools run as well, if not better, on Linux today. Furthermore, the security of Linux, which is built on a transparent, peer-reviewed kernel, is light years ahead of the black box nature of Windows, which has been plagued by a never-ending cycle of zero-day vulnerabilities and massive ransomware attacks that have paralyzed local governments in recent years. By choosing Linux, these states are effectively building a digital moat around their infrastructure that Microsoft simply cannot provide. Microsoft's reaction has been anything but quiet. Behind the scenes, their lobbying arm is reportedly in a state of high alert, attempting to persuade state legislators to reconsider by offering massive discounts and promising enhanced government editions of Windows that supposedly strip out the telemetry and AI tracking. For the governors of these 12 states, these promises are too little, too late. They've seen the pattern of Microsoft promising one thing and then quietly reintroducing intrusive features 3 updates later. There is a sense of enough is enough. They are tired of the forced updates that break mission-critical software at 9 a.m. on a Monday. They are tired of the pop-up ads for OneDrive and Game Pass on machines meant for processing disaster relief or managing public safety. This shift isn't just about the operating system itself. It is a total philosophical change in how public money is spent on technology. The open source model allows these states to hire local developers to maintain and customize their systems, rather than sending billions of dollars to a single corporation in Washington state. It creates a localized tech economy, where the software serves the people, not the shareholders of a distant monopoly. This is a concept that is gaining massive traction, and there are rumors that another 8 states are already in talks to join the mandate by the end of the year. If that happens, we are looking at nearly half of the United States government infrastructure running on Linux. For the average user, this is a massive win, even if you don't live in one of these states. When major government entities move to Linux, it forces hardware manufacturers and software developers to take the platform more seriously. We can expect to see much better driver support for printers, scanners, and specialized peripherals. We will likely see professional software suites finally making the jump to Linux, or at least perfecting their web versions. The Linux desktop year has been a joke in the tech community for 2 decades, but the government just made it a reality by sheer force of law. The security aspect cannot be overstated. When a state manages the records of millions of people, a single breach can be a disaster. Windows, because of its massive market share and legacy code, is the biggest target in the world for malicious actors. By switching to Linux, these states are moving toward a security-by-design philosophy. Linux allows them to strip the operating system down to only the essential components, leaving no surface area for attacks to land. They are no longer at the mercy of Microsoft's Patch Tuesday. They can fix their own bugs, audit their own code, and ensure that their systems are as tight as possible. Microsoft is also facing a massive PR nightmare. How do you explain to your corporate customers that 12 states find your software too insecure or too intrusive to use? This move validates every criticism that privacy advocates have been leveled against Windows 11 since its launch. It's one thing when a tech YouTuber complains about ads in the start menu, but it's a completely different league when a state government says your OS is a liability to public service. This could trigger a domino effect in the private sector as well. Large corporations, seeing the success and the cost savings of the government's Linux migration, may start to question why they are still paying millions for Windows licenses themselves. Moving thousands of employees to a new interface is no small feat. However, according to the leaked mandate documents, the states are planning to use highly customized desktop environments that mimic the familiar layout of Windows to minimize training time. They are focusing on usability-first distributions. This means that for the average office worker, the transition might be as simple as seeing a slightly different taskbar. Most of the work is happening under the hood, changing the engine of the car while keeping the steering wheel in the same place. Another factor that pushed this over the edge is the hardware requirement for Windows 11. Millions of perfectly functional government computers were slated for the landfill because they didn't have the specific TPM chips required by Microsoft's latest OS. These states looked at the bill for replacing all of that hardware just to satisfy a marketing requirement, and decided to say no. Linux runs beautifully on older hardware, meaning these states can extend the life of their current machines by another 5 to 10 years. This is a massive environmental win and a huge relief for taxpayers who don't want to see their money wasted on unnecessary hardware refreshes. The tech giant's explosion isn't just metaphorical. Reports indicate that emergency meetings are being held with the Department of Defense and other federal agencies to ensure they don't follow suit. Microsoft knows that if the federal government ever decides to go the way of these 12 states, the game is truly over for their software dominance. They are fighting a war on 12 fronts right now, and they are losing ground every day. This is a classic David versus Goliath story, where the open source community, which started as a grassroots movement of enthusiasts, is finally toppling the corporate giant. The 12 states have also emphasized that they want to be digitally independent. In an era of global instability and increasing cyber warfare, relying on a single company's closed-source software is increasingly seen as a national security risk. If a company can remotely disable or update software, they have ultimate power over that infrastructure. By moving to Linux, the states own the software. No one can turn it off from the outside. No one can force an update that breaks their systems. No one can hold their data hostage with licensing fees. This is true digital sovereignty, and it is a model that other countries around the world are watching very closely. Critics of the move argue that the cost of retraining and the potential for software compatibility issues will outweigh the savings. But the coalition of states has countered this by pointing out that they have already spent millions on compatibility layers like Wine and specialized virtualization that allow them to run necessary legacy Windows apps on Linux. They aren't going into this blind. They've done the math, they've run the tests, and they are confident that the era of Windows dominance in the public sector is a relic of the past. The fury coming out of Redmond is also directed at the fact that these states are essentially creating their own state Linux distributions. This means Microsoft can't even sell them specialized services, because the states are building their own internal support structures. They are hiring engineers to manage their own repositories. It is a complete decoupling from the corporate software cycle. It's a bold, almost revolutionary move that challenges the very foundation of how the tech industry has operated since the 1980s. Let's look at the states involved. While the full list hasn't been officially publicized in a single press release yet, insiders confirm a mix of tech-heavy states and rural states looking to cut costs. This diversity is what makes the mandate so powerful. It's not just a liberal or conservative thing. It's my computer and I want it to work thing. They are prioritizing stability over shiny AI features that no one in a government office actually asked for. Microsoft's attempt to push Copilot seems to have been the final straw. For a government agency, having an AI that constantly monitors and helps with documents is a massive security leak waiting to happen. Who is training the AI? Where is the data going? Can the AI be prompted to leak confidential information? These questions were never answered to the satisfaction of state IT directors. By moving to Linux, they can implement AI on their own terms, using local private models that don't call home to a central server. This allows them to use modern technology without compromising the oath of office they took to protect citizen data. We are witnessing the birth of a new era in desktop computing. For years, people argued that there was no real alternative to Windows for serious work. That myth has been shattered. If 12 American states can run their entire infrastructure on Linux, then so can a law firm, a hospital, or a small business. The psychological barrier has been broken. The fear of the black screen with white text is being replaced by the reality of a stable, fast, and free operating system that doesn't treat its users like products. The fallout from this will be felt for years. We can expect to see a surge in Linux development, particularly in the realm of user interface and office productivity. This is a gold rush for open-source developers who now have a massive, stable market to build for. It's a win for the consumer who wants more choice, and it's a much-needed reality check for a company that has grown far too comfortable with its monopoly power. Microsoft is exploding because they finally met a force they couldn't buy, lobby, or crush. And that force is the collective will of state governments to protect their citizens and their budgets. As this transition begins, there will undoubtedly be growing pains. There will be headlines about a printer not working in a small county office or a legacy database needing a rewrite. Microsoft will try to use these small setbacks to claim the whole project is a failure. But don't be fooled. Every major infrastructure shift has hurdles. The difference here is that the people in charge have decided that the long-term benefits of freedom, security, and cost savings are worth the short-term effort. They are playing the long game, while Microsoft is playing for the next quarter's earnings. If you are a Windows user right now, you should be paying very close attention. This mandate is a signal that the official version of the future that Microsoft is selling isn't the only option. It's a reminder that we have the power to choose what runs on our machines. Whether you decide to switch to Linux today or not, the fact that you even have the option is thanks to the brave move by these 12 states. They are paving the way for a more open, competitive, and secure digital world for all of us. The anger and panic from Redmond are a sign that they know they've lost the narrative. They can no longer claim that Windows is the standard when the government itself is moving away. The standard is now whatever works best for the user, and right now, that is Linux. This is a historic moment, a turning point that will be studied in tech history books for decades. The day the government stood up to the software giant and said, "Our data is our own." The implications for the education sector are also massive. If state governments are running Linux, state universities and schools will likely follow. This means a whole new generation of students will grow up being just as comfortable with Linux as they are with Windows or Mac OS. This prepares them for a career in a world where tech diversity is the norm, not the exception. It's a massive shift in the pipeline of the workforce, and it's one that will favor open-source skills over proprietary certification. In the end, this is a story about accountability. Microsoft grew so large that they felt they no longer had to listen to their customers. They pushed updates that weren't wanted. They collected data that wasn't theirs, and they charged prices that weren't fair. The 12 states just handed them the bill for that behavior. It's a lesson to every big tech company out there. No matter how big you are never bigger than the people you serve. The Linux mandate is just the beginning. The explosion at Microsoft is the sound of the old monopoly being dismantled, one line of code at a time. Stay tuned as we follow the rollout of this massive transition. We will be looking at the specific state Linux distros as they become public and reporting on the actual impact on the ground. This is the most exciting time to be in tech in a long time. The wall is falling. The gate is open and the future is looking a lot more like a penguin and a lot less like a window. It's time to take control of our digital lives, just like these 12 states have done. The conversation is no longer about if Linux can be a mainstream desktop OS. The conversation is about how fast the rest of the world will catch up. Microsoft is scrambling. The community is celebrating, and the tech landscape will never be the same again. This is a global shift, and it starts right now with the power of open-source software reclaiming the public square. Keep your eyes on the headlines and your bootable USB drives ready, because the revolution is officially being legislated. And it's about time. Control, privacy, and freedom are back on the menu. And for the first time in 30 years, Microsoft doesn't get to choose what's for dinner.